of this industry is too driven by what's the 2022 version, what's the 2023, what's the 2024. A lot of that is driven to just sell more bats because people think it's new, but I take a different approach. I mean, I want to come out with a new bat when we've made an actual improvement to it. When a player knows they have the choice to swing any bat they want and that they're going to lock into one bat, that's a scary thing for a player.
Mm-hmm.
And I make sure I'm like, hey, let's not talk about NIL until you know that this is your bat no matter what, period.
Did you build this bat with the Bat Bros ranking in mind? Like there are 3 categories. Well, I will say, you guys don't really have to chill right now because you have a bat that is going crazy this year in 2024. I feel like, in a way, on a bats podcast, I've kind of buried the lead a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we were talking about bats.
The Bonesaber hybrid, the number 1 ranked bat, according to the Bat Bros, who are, setting a lot of the market with the work they're doing there, have listed this as the number 1 BBCOR bat to swing this year. That's a huge endorsement. But it's also, it tells a lot about the work and the product that you guys have created. So talk to us a little bit about what went into making this iteration of the Bonesaber hybrid.
Yeah, I think the Bat Brothers are successful because they are a perfect combination of they're entertaining and just I mean you can't watch Bat Brothers and not like them. It's impossible. But
Yeah.
But they see things from a bat review standpoint as players. And I think they talk directly to the players, and that's important. So they understand what they're looking for. They've really started to craft, their components of what matters in a bat and a nice combination to have. And they're really informative on some nice intricacies that I really appreciate about them is that they will remind you that no BBCOR bat can have, for instance, all 3 components be a 10. It's because of the way that the standards are built. They're tough, and if you make a bat too much this, it's got to have a little less of this. And so I think with the Bonesaber hybrid, we had the Bonesaber. The knob was always innovative. The one piece is really, if you look in the real world in terms of high school and college baseball, the one piece is probably actually a little bit more used than the 2-piece. But we knew that once the one piece was there, that there were things that we could improve upon it if we simply created a 2-piece bat. One being, forgiveness and feel, right? So the major attribute of a 2-piece bat versus a 1-piece bat, especially at the BBCOR level, is that, you cut that bat in half. You can do a lot there to reduce vibration. In fact, you can almost kill it. That's a number 1 reason to do it. Otherwise, what's the point of cutting it in half? I think the thing with the Bonesaber that we thought might happen, the Bonesaber hybrid, is that when we not only cut it in half and reduce vibration, we knew it would be a little bit more end-loaded than the 1-piece, and that would contribute to power. But we managed to keep it at really, it just has a great feel. I love the shape of the Bonesaber 1-piece, and that shape flows into that bat that you're holding. And it's got a little bit more end load than the 1-piece, and that translates into power. So it just really does truly, in terms of their world, their scale, the 3 attributes, it really does. And I'd always believed in what we were shooting to do is how much can we fill up each of those 3 component buckets? I mean, they laid out the formula. So design and engineering, it's not like you're guessing. So we were trying to be number 1, but
really,
you can't just. Well, why would you not? I mean, think about it.
Well, of course, but
every bat that you create, you want. That's we're competitors. We want to try to see if we can make a bat that would get ranked number 1 because that's the challenge and fun of doing this, But
for sure,
there's nothing that you can do other than work hard. I mean, you're talking about 2 years of work into doing that, and a lot of trial and error, a lot of testing, a lot of swinging bats and going, well, I like this, but this feels a little off and stuff like that. And taking your time about it, A lot of this industry is too driven by what's the 2022 version? What's the 2023? What's the 2024? A lot of that is driven to just sell more bats because people think it's new, but I take a different approach. I mean, I want to come out with a new bat when we've made an actual improvement to it.
Yeah.
And I just don't worry
It's
too much.
honorable.
I'm too picky to not. I mean, I think the other is I just like it that way. I just
Yeah.
really want to. I like to. Most of what you learn from a bat is from the kids that swing it. It's from the market. It's from the feedback. I mean, customer service is where we get feedback, and you're learning every good thing people say about everything bad people say about. You're learning what can be improved. No different than when you're hitting. I'm like, I could work on this. So that feedback is where we make the bats better, you know. So we appreciate that feedback. So, you know, I'm not saying that we would have been disappointed if it had gone not number one,
Yeah.
but we really felt like, hey, we put everything in this bat. This is the best bat we've ever made. When you look at the attributes that they like, um, and like I said, BBCOR bats. There's no magic BBCOR bat. I mean, you've seen plenty of bats when they go over the standard, they get banned. I could care less to play that game.
Yeah.
But it's really simple. Well, it's really extremely difficult. But that .50 line is real. It really exists. Everyone's trying to get as close to that line as they can, um, and not go over, and have your production be consistent enough that you don't have these batches are too hot and these are too low and stuff like that. And all that's very difficult. But like the line is the line. After that, I think what matters is feel. If you can achieve the high performance ceiling, feel is extremely. I mean, I'm a one piece Bonesaber guy. I just prefer it. And then I got a kid that's going to Texas A&M. He's their biggest recruit. He hits with us on Sunday nights, and he's like he will not put down the two piece. It's just feel. My swing is more conducive to this bat. Yours is that. So feel is huge. You can't just have a hot bat. You have to have feel. And I just think that bat also just feels great. It just really does. The way it swings, the way it whips, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And the durability.
whippy's
And the
the
durability,
word.
I would say durability to us is no joke. Like durability is not something that we're like, okay, it can be durable, but we can do that. Right? No, durability has to be there in all of our products. That's kind of a staple of who we are as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, you're laying out exactly what people are looking for in bats, but I think a lot of times companies kind of get in their own way.
It's competitive,
Of
man. I get it.
Yeah,
When
I
you
could see how you do it. You have to sacrifice somewhere. You have to
Yeah,
sacrifice here, or if you want to, all of a sudden your bat's inloaded, but you want to take some of that weight off, and now some of the durability goes, or the sweet spot goes. Like I
yeah,
can only imagine the tinkering that goes into to create the right bat. Now, I
yeah.
do just want to touch on this real quick because I think you mentioned it, but like, did you build this bat with the Bat Bros ranking in mind? Like, there are three categories. Like,
Yeah, at the time, because I think they had been out a couple years at that point,
yeah,
and so you could see how much effect they were having on the market and on kids' minds. 100%, all credit to them. I mean, no one handed them that credit. They worked hard like anybody else to build their
for
channel and
sure.
build attention and build trust with customers and their objectivity. And so when you, as a business person, when you see what is influencing your customers, why would you not pay attention to it? And they're so consistent with how they're judging their bats in their world. And if that's having an effect, um, how could you not pay attention to it, to be honest with you? And in a way, it's like, thank you for clarifying I mean, they've got this whole world seeing bats from these three attributes, which
Yeah,
uh, they could have overcomplicated that, but they didn't, and I think that's good. I think there's other attributes. I mean, I could say, I mean, we've won best looking bat with them, and that's super cool. But the
yeah.
reality is, it doesn't really. I mean, they'll make a super ugly bat number one if it performs well, and that's great. I don't want to do that, but I'm too snooty for that. But um, absolutely, why we are able to say, here's where we're at with this bat and that bat. Here's the criteria, but it's design and engineering to get to that point, and a lot of
For
trial
sure.
and error. But um, yeah, I mean, I have no problem saying that. You know that
That That's awesome. Like
yeah.
I agree with what you're saying there too, because for a long time, and I've been working at Just Bats for a little while here. Prior to the Bat Bros, it was kind of just this Wild West of like, that dad said that his son hit 2 home runs with that bat,
Yeah,
and it was
a
just
little bit of
like
superstition mixed with a
there
little
was a
bit of,
ton of that.
we call it
Yeah.
bat team. Like there's very much a thing. It's like team culture too. Like any
Uh-huh.
given team can be, the kids you can see. I see this in college. I see this in high school. 12U team I'm coaching. It doesn't matter. I mean, you're right. It's a little bit of just the performance that happens on the field translates to this kid who is struggling is like, I need that bat. I was the same way. I'm sure I picked up a Black Magic back in way long ago because of the same thing. Of course, there wasn't many choices back then, and that's what's gotten difficult. There's so many choices now that I do think the Bat Brothers serve a helpful purpose to especially parents and kids as well. Is that there's so many really good performing BBCOR bats that it gets confusing.
Yeah, it does.
But I do think if people pay attention to the Bat Bros, that they are telling people that not every bat that's ranked number 1 or 2 or 4 is necessarily for you. Like you've got to understand when people come into Warstic and try out bats. I mean, just because that bat you're holding is number 1 doesn't mean the one that's not ranked number 1 is not a better bat for that person. And I think the Bat Brothers do have that nuance within their channel.
Yeah.
But it is. I can imagine it's easy for me because my kids aren't allowed to swing anything but Warstic, so I don't have to worry about this. They're sponsored by blood, but I can see when you're a parent. Here's the deal, and I can see this. I'm a dad of high school baseball players. It is so stressful to watch your kid, just play high school baseball in terms of failure, right? That's what's hard about it. It's way harder being a parent than it is the player.
Yep.
So whether that kid's 10 years old or 15 or 16, you want to help that kid to succeed. And so I get it. So all the parents buying bats, all they're trying to do when they go, man, I just bought a bat a month ago, but now this bat's number 1. They just want to help. And I get that. That's just them doing that. And so I do think that, I mean, it's crazy out there, man. And making those choices is hard. But like if a kid or a parent thinks that one bat can significantly help them over another, they're gonna do it, and I understand that. And that stuff's always gonna exist, because hitting's never gonna get easy. As far as I know, hitting's not gonna get easy.
No, it's not gonna get any easier.
I have major league players that I'm shocked still. I'm like, you're major league. Ian never switched his bat model, his length, his weight one time in the 5 years that I worked with him. And I think that's because he's mentally tough. But I see major league players every day be the guy that goes in and grabs another guy's bat because they're not finding barrels.
That's wild.
Major league players. So if a lot of them are still like that, of course a high school kid is gonna find a reason to switch bats sometimes. Because
baseball players will do anything. We'll do anything to get a hit. Like it's like an addiction almost. You just do anything to get that next hit.
I would tell you, and I've seen from Ian too, like it is a comfort if you can just really make yourself believe that it's not the bat, that you can hit with anything. It's a much more fun place to be. I don't think Mike Trout switches his model. And you know what I mean? Like there's very little reason that, I feel like the major league players that enjoy what they do more are the guys like Ian that, like, it's not the bat. I mean, I want a good bat. I want it to be right. I want it to feel right. But once it's right, and I've had success with it, I always know that I've done it. So if I start sucking, it's not the bat. It's something I'm doing. And that's a more enjoyable place to live. So I think you should buy a Bonesaber hybrid, hit really great with it, and understand that you really never should change.
And buy it from Just Bats,
Yes, I'm just joking. We're not for everybody, and that's always, I never, I always have the opinion that, I'm not trying to be a company that's really intended to be for everyone. That's never been the goal.
That'd be really hard to do. I mean, there's so many different players out there. Unless you released like 500 bats, 50 bats, 20 bats. There, you would just have to hit so many different feels and swing weights and materials and construction types. Like what you swing is different than what I swing, and what I swing is different than what Adam swings. And like, it's just not going to happen.
For sure. I mean, and two, I think we've really let in the last, I mean, it's been personality and personal flair and all these things are now starting to be more accepted and more fun in baseball. Like my kid's got a mint colored glove that I made him because it's fun. And I think too, like that means that it's fun to have different brands in baseball now because, you know, brand is kind of an expression of your personality. So I like that that a lot of people love our brand and interact it and cut the logo in their head. It's fun. But I also don't mind that someone doesn't like what we got going on at all. And then they're like this. That's how it should be. You know, I like that variety exists in baseball now and that your personality can be expressed through your equipment a little bit more now. And there's plenty of players I don't want swinging my bat. I'm not going to get into that, but like there's plenty of behavior or this and that it doesn't fit us. So I'm like, and I don't need to go into what that might be, but there's plenty of players that don't want swinging my bat. There's plenty of major leaguers that I'm good. We're good. Like I want, especially major leaguers, our major leaguers, our NIL college players, which are so much fun to watch. We've got 4 players at Arkansas who's been ranked #1, and I'm watching every game. It's extremely fun. And I can tell you point blank that we did not sign those kids without knowing them as humans. It's so important to us that they're people that we like, not just great players. Especially at that level, you want those players to represent what you want the kids who swing Warstic to look up to. So
I think that's super interesting in an NIL era that, you know, is pretty new to everyone out there. Like the idea that you have worked so hard for the last 13, 14 years to build up what Warstic is, to build up that brand, to build up something that you're proud of and represents you. That you don't just chase the kid that has the most home runs in D1 last year. Like it can't.
I really don't want him, to be honest. For me, I think, I mean, it's like this. Warstic is kind of is an underdog, and it's for the underdog. So why would I want the most known, biggest hitter in college baseball to represent that? He actually can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that's awesome. I love that mentality.
I have a kid at Auburn, Christian Hall, who transferred there this year. He's a senior. He was a bubble player, was not necessarily supposed to be an everyday starter. Coach told me so, but he loved Warstic a lot. He really wanted it. And I took a flyer on him and I said, this kid may never get more than 10 at bats. Well, we signed him. We took a chance when we could have gone after the best hitter on the team. He's killing it. He's leading. He's one of the top home runners on the team. He's earning every at bat after every at bat after every at bat. And that story of what he's doing and who he is every bit about what we are about. So I'm super glad we did that. And Behiva Loy, the shortstop for Arkansas, is probably man, he's my favorite player going right now. He's cool. He's from Hawaii. He plays defense lights out, and I love defense. But he just lets his actions speak, man, for himself. There's nothing comes out of this guy's mouth. He doesn't need it. He's just like, you watch him and you're like, damn, I want to play like that guy, right? And so he's been a great representative as one of our NIL guys, and we would have more. I mean, there's just we do sponsor University of Missouri Tigers. Ian played there. They asked us to sponsor them a couple of years ago, and we felt like we were ready. You know, that's the SEC, so it was a great test for our bats, and we'll continue to do that. That's like one of our home squads. You know, that's where Ian played, so it was like, yeah, we'll do that. But you know, like, I think the trend in college baseball hopefully is going towards what we call open contract schools, meaning the kids get to choose what they swing. I and we'll see where that goes. NIL is making that interesting on both sides. Yes, kids can sign deals with us individually because they can swing our bat, but companies are also contributing NIL dollars as a whole to the teams to get the team to swing their bat. So, I don't want to go overboard with that, and I don't want any team or player representing us that doesn't fit who we are. And you're right. It's a crazy environment with the NIL. I don't know how sustainable it is, but that could be a whole different podcast. But I enjoy the relationships that we have with the players. They're honestly more important than our major league players because, just the metal bat market is a much bigger market than wood bats. It's simple as that.
Yeah, that's great insight there too, because I think the way that Warstic is approaching this is the right way to approach NIL. It is truly acting out some of that name, image, and likeness, but that's said in the way that they can get endorsed for their production and they can get endorsed for the eyeballs that they're bringing to television sets and all that, and the money they're bringing into the companies, and they can kind of earn their own keep. But it's kind of almost inverse in a way. They're representing Warstic's name, image, and likeness. They are
for sure
a personification on the diamond of what your brand is. Like you're interviewing them to be, warriors.
Absolutely. Yeah. If they don't embody what that means to us, there's no reason we would do a deal. Like our thing is, they're all great players. If you're in the SEC, for instance, I mean, you're a good player.
Yeah.
If you're a starting player in the SEC, you're a really good player. It's do they fit our message beyond that? And when people watch them play, do they understand what Warstic is about indirectly? Then yeah. And I can tell you this, people will say, oh, you paid these Arkansas guys to swing your bat. Well, do you think that I could pay them enough money? Well, I guess you could, but we don't. NIL deals individually in baseball are not all that big. But these kids, first and foremost, want to use the bat that they want to use, especially when they have the choice, because they want to hit, they want to perform, and they want to get drafted. So I promise you that our conversation goes something like they pick the bat first, they settle in on the bat, they have success with the bat. We make sure that the bat is the bat for them no matter whether they're working with us or not. Signing the deal actually just allows us and them to work together more closely from a marketing perspective to do more with it. But I can't pay someone to use a bat. I've had people think about it and back out of a deal because they can't, when a player knows they have the choice to swing any bat they want and then they're going to lock into one bat, that's a scary thing for a player. Mm-hmm. And I make sure I'm like, hey, let's not talk about NIL until you know that this is your bat no matter what, period.
Yeah.
And then it goes on from there. I have a couple of those conversations going on right now. But I'm like, well, you just started swinging it last week. I know you say you love it. Let's give it 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
look at you. You're a dad. I can tell you're a dad there.
Yeah. I'm way down the dad line.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fantastic. I love that insight. I didn't know that we were getting into that today, and I love that we did. I feel like I could talk to you on that topic a lot more because it's really interesting stuff, and it's really insightful to see how bat companies are coming about it. From a Just Bats perspective, last spring, I kind of dove into what NIL would look like for us. And as I did that, it kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it doesn't make a ton of sense for a bat distributor in that space. Yeah. What are we doing? We're just providing you someone else's bat. But just diving into NIL and finding out what that looks like and learning more about it. I love to hear how you all are approaching it.
I don't know how other people are approaching it because honestly, it's probably a lot of Warstic is never a learned behavior. It's just, it is a behavior I got. I didn't work at any other bat company or anywhere else before this. So everything that we do is a little bit like how we kind of
can tell it. But I would imagine you all are coming at it with a lot more intention than some of the big brands might be. And I think that's just 2 different marketing strategies. I don't think there's anything wrong with being another brand that says we want to have the best players in the game swing our bats.
Yeah, the reality is, and I don't blame them for this. Most bat companies performance is the thing. It is kind of in fact, it's tough to talk about or be, I mean, it's about performance. Well, everybody's that. And so, if you want the best bat or the best player, I get it. It makes sense. It's just for us, it's a little bit more performance. We have more to talk about than performance. We have this mentality thing. And so we would rather use what's different about us and when it comes to those kind of things, because just acting like others never is a good thing for us. It's just not.
It wouldn't work. I could tell talking to you, it wouldn't work if you tried to act like somebody else that wasn't yourself.
I'd be really
you
bad
are yourself.
Yeah, I'd be really bad at it. So even trends, I mean, you'll have trends throughout the years that happen. And I have to be really careful about those because the business side of you says, oh, we need this, we need that. I've been lured in by that a few times and it never really works out. And I like to be more of the coming up with the things that create the trends. I mean, that's a little bit more why I do it as a designer. That's kind of what is the fun part, is to not, I mean, I see everything, you absorb everything that's going on. Trends are there, they're real, fads are real, but you got to distinguish between what's a fad and what is something that's here to stay. And I want people to look back at our stuff in 20 years and see how it influenced the industry. Not because I think I'm better than anybody else, but because that's the challenge as a designer. That's when you really know that you are being a designer. That's the fun of it,